All right, I'm not dreaming. We can continue with the review. I watched Inception. Wouldn't it be crazy if that was one of the totems in Inception? Anyway, we are on a Leonardo DiCaprio binge right now, a grind, if you will. We started with The Departed, which I thoroughly enjoyed. We moved on to Catch Me If You Can, which I did not enjoy. And we stopped for our third visit at Inception. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But I do want to make one special caveat before we do that as it relates to Catch Me If You Can. There was a debate in the comments of that video where people were like, do you not just watch a movie to be entertained? Why does everything have to be sort of a puzzle to you? Why do you have to think about everything? Why do you have to analyze everything? And I gave that some thought, and I realized that for the last 6 years, I had been teaching a course, a high school course called AP Language and Composition. And in that class, I felt my job as the teacher was to get students to analyze everything. There is a rhetoric everywhere. There are arguments everywhere. And if you can go through your life and you don't just get absorbed into the advertisement or into the news story or into the article or into the movie, right? And rather you can take the information and you can figure out what is the message behind this. Why did they feel it was necessary to create this? What are they trying to say? You'd be better off, okay? And I realized that after teaching that for 6 years, I brainwashed myself and now I can't enjoy anything. Okay, every commercial that comes on, every article I read, every single thing, I'm analyzing it under this AP language microscope. So that is why I can't enjoy movies, and that is why I overanalyzed Catch Me If You Can and will continue to probably overanalyze every movie I watch. And I think Inception is probably a good movie to be forced to overanalyze. I will say this. Inception is probably not the best movie to watch one time and then hop on a YouTube video and give a review. And that's what we're going to do today. I will acknowledge that I'm not going to be as crisp and clean as maybe I could be if I watched this 4 or 5 times. This seems like a movie that if you want a total true grasp of it, you will need to watch it 4 to 5 times. That's not in the cards for me. So let's talk about it. Overall, I enjoyed this movie. It held my attention, it kept me interested, and it did keep me thinking. I will tell you that in the first half hour to 45 minutes, I was confused until I kind of got in the swing of things. And then I felt like I was getting into the swing of things. And then they finally get on the plane to help Sato get Robert Fisher's try to hack his dream to implant an idea in his mind about his dad's company and will and all that. And then when they go into the 5 layers deep dream where they're on the plane, but they're in the bus that falls off the bridge, and then they're at the snow place, and then they're even deeper than that. That's tough. All right. That was tough to keep track of. So plot wise, I do think it was solid. I do think it progressed nicely. I do think there were multiple levels of conflict, which is what I kind of expressed as a disappointment in Catch Me If You Can. There was hardly any conflict. But in Inception, there were multiple levels of conflict. There was Leonardo DiCaprio's or Cobb's, overall conflict or his deep underlying conflicts with the fact that his wife was dead and that he didn't have access to his kids' lives because of how she managed to, write that he was unfit for her, so that hopefully he would go on and die with her because she was convinced they were in this dream, right? It was a very tangled web. Okay, so he had that going. He also had his conflict with Sato, trying to get access back to his kids and help him, and then you had the conflict of Sato with Robert Fisher and there were a lot of layers to the conflict, which I appreciated. Multiple storylines kind of going at once. You wanted to see if he could accomplish task A and B so that he could get C. Okay. I will say that the writers, the creators, and even the director, Christopher Nolan, did a fantastic job. To have to come up with the writing for this video, the concept for this movie, sorry, not a video, is truly impressive. I'll give credit where credit's due there. Characters, I was pleased with them all. I thought they all did a very fairly good job. My favorite character is probably Eames. Not an overwhelming presence in the film, not someone who's in every scene, but someone who, when is around, is very level-headed, very understanding, has some humor at times, feels like he kind of gets it, and is happy to help out where he can. So I really liked Eames, but again, I don't think there was an actor or an actress that I did not think fit into this movie. Last thing we'll talk about, and again, because I can't get into too many of the details in this, having only watched the movie once, is the ending. And I can imagine that the ending is the biggest frustration for people. And I'm going to give you my take on the ending after watching it one time and tell you why I can still say this was a good movie despite the ending and the ambiguity of the ending. Okay, so here it is. And this is going to sound slightly ironic with how I started the video. The ambiguity of the ending was that of a mental or intellectual ambiguity. When he goes to finally meet his kids and he spins that totem on the desk, okay, to see if he's alive or dreaming, and he sees his kids, and he walks away from that totem, and the last shot we see is that thing's still going. And the movie ends. And the viewer is left to say, well, was he dreaming? Was he not? Right? Intellectually, puzzle-wise, you need a yes or a no, and you don't get that. But why it's satisfying to me is every time we see Leonardo DiCaprio spin that totem in the movie, he's locked in. He's focused on that totem. And he's saying, is this real? Is this real? Is this real? Is this real? Is it real? Until it falls. Deep breath, right? But when he spins that and he sees his kids, the totem, the dream, it doesn't matter. He walks outside to be with these kids that he has not, we can assume, seen for years. So while intellectually we don't know if that is a dream or not, it could very well be a dream. But what we see from Cobb, or Leonardo DiCaprio, is this character growth, this emotional resolution, where it doesn't matter if he's dreaming or not, because he gets what he's after, and that is a hopeful relationship with his kids. So I don't think it's convenient. Like I called Catch Me If You Can, it's kind of a convenient ending. I don't think it's convenient. I think it's left up to the viewer to kind of decide, is he dreaming, is he not? But at the end, the viewer gets at least a little comfort in knowing that Cobb has the happy ending because he's back with what is left of his family. So we get a emotional satisfaction, maybe not an intellectual satisfaction, which, as I said, is maybe contradictory to how I open this video and say that I'm looking for an intellectual satisfaction in things. But I could also argue that the emotional is a big part of the rhetoric in this film, and I still feel satisfied after having watched it. So that is what I think of Inception. I think it's below The Departed. I think Departed is still 1. Inception's 2. Catch Me If You Can is 3. I'll tell you a little spoiler. I started Shutter Island last night. And to tell you the truth, guys, it was really captivating for 40 minutes. And I was like, this might be the number 1. And then I turned it off after like an hour. It lost it. So I'm going to finish it. I'm going to give you my review and explain why I did not care for it after the 40-minute mark. Hopefully it rebounds for me. But again, a little disappointing there. We'll see how it goes, how it ends up. And we'll see you for that review, and we'll see you next time, and we'll see you around.